I think a lot of the times what I think about, well, what does this, either it's what does the person value, or what is the value of the brand? And I feel like that's really like where you need to lean into it for sure. There's always challenges with events, right? It's like I have yet to work on an event where it went exactly like
100%.
according to plan. So you could plan as much
So
as you want.
you even have to plan for the things that you can't plan.
Correct,
If
correct.
something happens that we didn't plan for, what do we do?
Like one of the things that my clients always say about me, they're like, "You're so calm, and you're so graceful." And I take it as such a huge compliment, right?
I feel like that's like an actual, I feel like that's like a requirement of like an event planner, because there's always so many things going on.
Yeah,
Like if you are not able to just be like, then everybody else is gonna feed off of the. And
exactly.
I feel like, sorry, I'm horrible, because I'm like, I'm doing like all the gestures, and the people who are listening and not watching the video cannot understand what the heck is going on. But like, it's like, okay, well, you have to be tranquil. And then if you aren't, people are feeding off of your craziness and your toxicity and your like anger and frustration and anxiety. And then it permeates the entire team, which is not good for like the quality of the event.
I agree.
Like
I
customer
agree.
service oriented things. So yeah, no.
Yeah, I agree.
Today we have a special guest, Natasha Wright, joining us with a degree in psychology, certification in meeting and event management, and over 10 years of marketing experience. Natasha brings a unique perspective to event planning. From grand production to cultural celebrations, conferences, and summits, she has flawlessly executed over 50 events in various formats, in person, virtual, and hybrid. As the event strategist and chief experience curator of the Diamond Butterfly Agency, Natasha collaborates with businesses and organizations to create personalized and soulful events that elevate their brand awareness and leave a lasting impression. Welcome, Natasha Wright. Welcome to Eventus 365, the podcast that's all about corporate events and the magic behind the scenes. I'm your host, Yannick DaCosta, and I am excited to take you on a journey through the world of corporate events. But before we dive in, let's talk about the stress of creating marketing material for your events. We all know how tough it can be when deadlines are tight and resources are limited, but guess what? YKMD Visual Communications has got your back. Our design firm specializes in working with corporate event professionals just like you, and we're here to help take the stress out of creating stunning graphics for your event. Our team of expert designers can deliver custom brand compliant designs in just 12 hours. So whether you need branding, signage, marketing materials, or anything else, YKMD's got you covered. Okay, now that that's done, let's start the show. I don't know why I want to tell people this, but before we even started talking, we're complaining about the lack of AC and fans and having to like have your window open as a part of living in Jamaica, which I don't mind. I don't mind. My house doesn't have air conditioning, and people are confused about that. They're like, what are you doing? Why are you in Jamaica pretending to be poor? Fine. I have a window.
My house in Jamaica don't have no AC or hot water.
Okay, so we only have hot water upstairs. There's no hot water.
Oh, okay.
So if you
See,
want to
that's a luxury.
hot water, you have to come upstairs.
Yeah.
We got fans and we have open windows. That's what's happening around.
Yeah, that cool breeze.
So diving right in, Natasha, given your background in psychology and meeting and events management, how does this unique blend of expertise impact your approach to event planning, especially when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion? Like, can you share some insights on how to create events that truly welcome and celebrate everyone?
Yeah, it's so interesting because I never really saw the connection until a few years ago. So I remember I was at a workshop and I was just talking about how a lot of times we go to school for one thing and then our career is like in this completely different space. And so I was like, well, I have a psychology degree, but my goal was to be a psychologist, but I never went on to get the master's or the PhDs. And now here I am in events, which is like completely separate. And then someone was like, "Oh, but it's the same thing, right? It's, it's still people. Like events are about people and psychology is about people." So then I was like, "You know what? That makes so much sense." And then I was like, "I need to lean into that." Yeah. I was like, lean into that a little bit more. Because psychology is really around like understanding human behavior, and events are basically the same thing. It's like you're bringing together a community of people, so then how can you make the space more inclusive for everyone, really allow people to celebrate their uniqueness, feel comfortable, because I feel like that's really a part of being inclusive. It's like, how can you feel comfortable within the space to express yourself and be yourself, and have that shared experience. I think a lot of times you have to kind of think about, well, how is that at the heart of your event planning, or the goal that you want to meet? Because a lot of times we could just end up connecting with the same people, or doing the same things. And so you have to think about like having like diverse voices, whether or not it's from a demographic perspective, but also from like a unique perspective, right? A difference in perspective, because I feel like that makes the event richer and have like a richer conversation. And one of my friends, she does this thing at all her events where she has like a separate space called like a power down space. So for people who are introverts, you could go to the power down space and just sit down, and whenever you're there, that means that nobody's going to come talk to you. So if you're an introvert, you want to kind of recharge yourself, so go and you sit in this space. So I think just thinking about different things like that, about how there are different personality types, learning types, or even people who are, in a different community. Like, how can you really allow them to fully be a part of the event? Especially with the virtual events, when, that was coming on, it was like, all right, well, we need to make sure that we're having closed caption for people. You know what I mean? Or even if you go to an event where there might be a sign language interpreter, a lot of times, like, they have the sign language interpreter, like, all the way on the other side, so it's like, how can you maybe do like picture in picture, and like have that person like be fully immersed in it, as opposed to it being like an afterthought.
So there's a lot of things that you said that was like, oh, 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 oh. So why did I sound like a monkey a while ago? Anyway, talk about trying to be triggering on accident.
Uh,
So I met this lady, her name's Pagal. She is the founder of this thing called the School of Experience Design, where they talk about the balance between like art and science, and how that impacts people in different event spaces.
mhm,
And so one of the things that she was saying in her presentation is that if you are looking for someone to make a decision, understand that it's 95% emotional and 5% logical. And so
mhm,
I feel like your background in psychology, it puts you in a position to really understand how to impact someone's emotional response, to really
mhm.
get them a different kind of result from the event. And so in my head, that's where I thought you were going to go.
Yeah, yeah, but
Kind of went there, but like in a different way, which I still appreciate.
yeah, yeah, because it's all about the design of the event, right? You want to make sure that people feel good. Like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. Like, do
Oh,
you feel good in the space,
okay.
right?
So another thing, right? So something
Mhm,
that she was talking about like, poor lady. I've been calling her name like for the last 2 weeks. Not just feeling good, but feeling
mhm,
curious, feeling excited,
mhm,
like searching
mhm,
through like this entire like range of emotions, but those
mhm,
emotions being the ones that trigger someone's want or need to actually do a thing. So I don't
mhm,
know, I feel like it was really cool. But yes, of course, feeling you don't want to leave
yeah,
an event feeling bad. Um,
right, exactly.
but I don't know, like if it's a Halloween event, did you want to leave feeling scared? I don't know. Uh,
Maybe, maybe. Like I've gone to Universal where they have Halloween Horror Night, and I
oh
went
yeah,
there with
traumatized.
with the intention of being scared out of my mind, but I wasn't. So I left feeling like, okay, I didn't get what I
Yeah.
came to get,
And it was
right?
really giving what it was
Yeah,
supposed to do.
right, right.
No,
I
yeah.
thought I was gonna be a little bit terrified and having nightmares for a couple of weeks, but that didn't happen.
Not
So
yet.
yeah,
Disappointing. I got you.
yeah,
So
it depends. Yeah.
with all of that, right? Effective communication is the key to success in any endeavor, right?
Yeah.
Especially in the event industry. How
Yes.
do you articulate your event's promise and values in a way that resonates with the potential attendees? Can you share like your strategies to attract the right audience and to create a buzz around your events?
So a lot of the events I work on, it's either business related events or it's with organizations. And so I think a lot of the times what I think about, well, what does this either it's the what does the person value or what is the value of the brand? And I feel like that's really like where you need to lean into it. And then so from there, it's like you have your goals. Well, what is the goal that you have for the event, right? And then who are the people that you want to be a part of the event, like who is your target demographic, and figuring out who those persons are. And then thinking about, well, you have the brand or the business owner like has their specific goal, but then how does that goal kind of becomes like an offshoot for the target demographic, right? Or your attendee or whatever the case may be. And then like you kind of weave in like whatever your value is, and then that becomes your event promise, right? So kind of like how I was just talking about me going to Halloween Horror Night, like I went there to be scared. Like I wanted to have this like immersive experience, and I thought that I would be walking through these dark corners and I was gonna get like nervous or scared, right? So, if I go into the event, I want to know, all right, well, why, what am I gonna get? Like, whether that's I'm gonna learn how to, learn how to create content, within 90 days and have like some implementers. Like, what is the event promise, right? But it's really thinking about it from, what is the things that you value? So, for example, for me, like one of the things that I value is fun. So I want to make sure that whatever I do, any type of event that I do, like it has like that component of fun within it. So even if it's something that is, just maybe a generic topic that other people might be doing, think about like how can you infuse the value into it, and then that's what you're gonna start using, from the marketing perspective, or from who, if you're gonna have speakers, then who are the speakers that you're gonna bring in, or who are people that you're gonna connect or collaborate with, in order for you to bring it together. Or if even if you're gonna use like influencers, okay, well, are they people who are connected to that particular demographic, or audience that we want to connect with? So I think, yeah, like having at the forefront of it all, like what is your goal, what is your target demographics goal, like what is it that they want to accomplish, and then infusing that with your value, and then that becomes like your event promise.
Gotcha. Okay. So you've got over like a decade of marketing experience. We already know this thing. And then there's your unique role as a chief experience curator. Um,
Yeah.
could you share how events could be utilized as a powerful marketing tool? And how do you leverage events to boost brand awareness and create like lasting impressions?
So I remember, so I was in marketing, and it's more so like in the educational space. But then where I really started to fall in love with events is when I did my first women's empowerment event. And so I just felt called to do that event. But at the time, I had never done an event like that before. But I was like, all right, like like your spirit keeps telling me, do this thing, do this, do this thing. So I decided to do it. And then once I did the event, then once people started sharing it on social media, and I would go out to like networking events, and people would want to connect with me, like, oh, I saw the event online, like let me know you're doing another one. Or one of the persons that was at the event, like she was actually already doing an event, and she asked me to collaborate with her on her event. And so we ended up doing that for like another 4 years. I was also able to meet friends that, I had already been working from home with my 9 to 5 at that point in time. So, and I'm also an immigrant. So I didn't have like childhood friends to lean on. You know what I mean? So it
Yeah,
was
that
cool to,
I understand that struggle.
yeah. So it was cool to like be out and like
Oh
share it.
my gosh.
Yeah.
You just really pointed out something to me. You know how they always talk about how Jamaicans have 10,001 jobs? Maybe
Yeah.
because we don't have any friends when we come here. And I say come here, and I'm in Jamaica right now, but like when we move
Right.
to this foreign country, we have no friends, and we're like, well, how else are we gonna occupy our time? Let's make
Exactly.
some money to send back to the people that we actually love, because that's how we can show our affection from a distance.
That's
Oh
exactly
my gosh. Never
it's
have I ever thought about it that way.
girl, it's like how do you keep yourself busy? Yeah, you could chill around and watch TV, but it's also like coming from that immigrant background, it's always like you came to America, the land of opportunity. You have to
Yeah, take some
make good,
opportunities.
take
Yeah,
the opportunities.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Take the opportunities. So yeah, so then once I saw that, I was like, all right, well, and I didn't even have a business like at the time. It was just that I thought that I need to create a business to do the event. So I didn't even have any like services that I offered or anything like that. But like I said, it was once I did that event and people started saying, "Oh, like can you help me with marketing my event?" Because they saw how I marketed my event. So then, that then became like a part of the services that I offered.
So
So
marketing and an event planning, do
correct.
them both.
Yeah. So
Got
like I knew that I loved the event planning from doing my event, but the thing that people were asking me about or asking me more so for was helping them to market their event.
got
So then that's really like where I started with more so doing like event marketing, social media marketing for events, like bringing out influencers to events. And then I had to say, listen, like my original thing was always event planning and event management. And so I had to always kind of keep that at the forefront. And at some point I was like, all right, I got to segue back to where I
Oh,
wanted to
why?
be. I
Oh,
just
because were
felt
you not enjoying the marketing part?
correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, I felt like it was a lot, and there were times where I just felt like I was burnt out, and I feel like you want to do things that you feel
Interesting
lit
that the
about.
marketing is what burnt you out and not the planning. Because the
I
planners,
know.
planners are like, "Ah." Marketers are like, okay, it's done.
Yeah, yeah, I know, but that's the thing. That's why everybody is unique, and there's
Yeah,
something
yeah.
for everyone. And I still love marketing, and I love coming up with like marketing ideas and things like that. But in terms of like the execution part of the marketing campaign, like in terms of like the digital part of it, or like the PR part of it, like that's the part that I decided to kind of move away from. But it's still marketing with the events, right? So it's so like we were talking about, it's still if the event still becomes like a you marketing your business or you building your brand. And so I always took that approach to it. I never thought about events as anything else. It wasn't a celebration for me. It wasn't just to have fun, because I saw like how I started and I saw like what the impact was from that. So I'm like, no, this is what, if you're going to do an event for your business, this is the direction or the thought process that you need to be having, is how can it market my business? Because you're spending money. Like you don't want to spend that money and not have it, yield some sort of return. And how can it, really build my brand? So yeah, I think I answered the question.
Yeah, no, it was in there. It was in there. We just talked about a whole lot.
Yeah. Mhm.
All right, so in your journey so far, what has been your biggest challenge and how did you overcome it? Is there any like advice that you would give to like the listeners based on that experience?
In terms of challenges, working on events,
Yeah.
okay, I feel like there's
Or maybe
always,
just building a business.
yeah, I think for sure there's always challenges with events, right? It's like I have yet to work on an event where it went, exactly like
100%.
according to plan. So you could plan as much
So
as you want.
you even have to plan for the things that you can't plan.
Correct,
If
correct.
something happens that we didn't plan for, what do we do?
Exactly. Like so recently, I did last month we did an event. It was supposed to the reception or the mixer was supposed to be in this beautiful, like Spanish courtyard, right? Check the weather, everything looked good. And then,
Sorry, and check the weather.
check the weather. It looks
And
okay,
all listen,
good to
all
go
I knew was, girl, this is in South Florida.
in South
That's
Florida.
immediately what I thought. Anyway, continue. Let me let you get to the punchline.
Right. Okay. So yeah, the mixer's supposed to be outside, and then after the mixer, you go inside, to the hall, and that's where all of the event activities happen, right? Within like 10 minutes of the mixer starting, all of a sudden I start seeing these like heavy drops of rain, like not even like a little trickle.
It's what you said. It's a heavy drop.
Heavy. It's like it slaps you on the back, right?
Nice.
It's
Nice.
not, how sometimes when it starts raining, it's like a little teetering down, and then you're like, okay, gotta get prepared. It's like plop, plop, and then all of a sudden, like it's this like literal like torrential downpour. Like the whole garden area was like just started to like flood out, and we were running around like moving the tables because we had a cocktail tables out there. There was a violinist playing,
Oh,
and yes, and he has his speakers, his box out there, and so yeah, so now we have to be, moving around things, like shifting things, like repositioning people, but still wanting them to have a good experience, right? But having to deal with this, so I feel like events are always going to be challenges, but it's just a matter of you just got to be like quick with making changes or intuitive with making changes. Like in my mind, I always think like everything is figure outable.
yeah.
Like even if something happens last minute, I'm always like everything is figure outable because maybe it's not figure outable in how so whomever you're working with wants it to work out, or how you might really want it to work out, but
Everything
it
is figure out.
everything is so if you take that approach and it becomes like, all right, what is the quick thinking thing that I could do right now to kind of change that situation. So yeah, I think just being quick on your feet, being intuitive with what is the thing, the next step to take, and then like just being calm. Like one of the things that my clients always say about me, they're like, "You're so calm." And you're so graceful. And I take it as such a huge compliment, right?
I feel like that's like an actual, I feel like that's like a requirement of like an event planner because there's always so many things going on.
Yeah,
Like if you are not able to just be like, then everybody else is gonna feed off of the. And
exactly.
I feel like, sorry, I'm horrible because I'm like, I'm doing like all the gestures and the people who are listening and not watching the video cannot understand what the heck is going on. But like, it's like, okay, well, you have to be tranquil. And then if you aren't, people are feeding off of your craziness and your toxicity and your like anger and frustration and anxiety. And then it permeates the entire team, which is not good for like the quality of the event.
I agree.
Like
I
customer
agree.
service oriented things. So yeah, no.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, yeah. No, so like I've worked with clients that are like because sometimes when the it's hits upon hits upon hits, it's like as much as you want to remain calm, you're a human being, So
Yeah,
somebody comes
sure.
up to you in the middle of that and they're asking you some ridiculous question, like you might feel like you want
But
to snap.
yeah, but you know what? There's also being conscious, right? Like
Yes,
being conscious of your surroundings, being conscious of who, what, when, where, and knowing how to
exactly.
mitigate those emotions because it sucks, right? Like it sucks having to do that, but
Mhm.
like it might mean if you're having a moment, it might be the time to walk outside the venue and scream and come back.
Correct, correct. Or you go inside the bathroom and you're like, listen, I'm taking a breather because I have done that. Like I
You're
go
like,
inside the bathroom.
why has she been in a porta potty for so long? Like that's how bad it is. You're in a porta potty.
Listen, listen, you have to do what you need to do in order for you to do what you need to do effectively, right? Because if the moment you start freaking out, then and then the psychology part of it, right? It's like once you start freaking out, it just becomes like this cycle that you can't even make effective decisions anymore because all you're thinking about is the
You're being
problem
emotional
time.
versus
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Hmm.
all right, so earlier you were talking about the importance of fun, right? Even like right now we're talking about just like emotional temperament, but then also like emotional engagement in events.
Yeah.
Could you share some examples where you've managed to incorporate these elements in innovative ways to event programming and how they contributed to the overall success of the event?
I'm thinking more in terms of innovative ways. I can't necessarily think of anything that I've done that's necessarily like innovative per se. And I guess whenever I think about, and maybe I'm overthinking the word innovative, right? Whenever I think about innovative, I think about like this huge like different thing that might be technology related. But what I will say is that I think that at the heart of it, you always want to figure out ways for people to connect or engage with each other, because regardless of whatever your event promise is, right? It's like your the I always feel like your blessings come is always going to come through people, right? So if you don't allow for the space where people can actually connect, they're not just like sitting down or learning something or watching the programming, like actually allow for ways for people to connect, then you're not going to get the full effect of what the event could be. So for example, one of the events that we worked on with one of my clients is hers is more so an event for people who are on the journey of pivoting or like shifting their business. And so she has a quiz where you can kind of figure out like what is your pivot type, right? And then there's three different types of your pivot type. And then so what we thought about is how can we get people who are similar pivot types to then connect with each other so they could talk about like what are some of the emotional processes, or what are some of the challenges that they're experiencing, and so that would be like a point of connection for them. So we had like bands, so each person would kind of be able to identify people by pivot types to allow for them to be able to connect with each other. We've done, for example, like just thinking about one of our clients where like one of the things that was important for them was, they want people to feel inspired to take action. So we did these cue cards. So the original idea was, that it's the organization's name and these are these inspirational cards. So as you come in, you could kind of write an inspirational message, and then somebody else will come in and they pick out that inspirational message. So it's becomes this like co-creating inspirational like fishbowl, right? It didn't work out like that. So, but we ended up having that where people could come in, they pick an inspirational card, and we ended up, just kind of putting a motivational or inspirational message on the card. So maybe you're having a rough day, or you come in, you get that card, you get that inspiration. So I think like little things like that, it might not necessarily be a huge thing or a big thing, but
It might be the thing
small
that
things
makes the most
matters.
impact.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. And then we've done, just even roundtable discussions and conversations. I think like a lot of times we might, when you curate the conversation so that people are talking about the very thing that might be important to your brand, then it becomes a situation where your attendees are now helping you, solve a particular problem, or helping you think through what the future
Or,
of
yeah,
the business or
expanding your
organization could
business.
be.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
No, I love that. So
yeah.
before I let you go, this is my very last question.
Okay.
I've loved our chat. It's been pretty cool. We
Yeah.
definitely talked about all kinds of things, but one thing I want you to share is what's one event you think that every event professional should attend to sharpen their skills, whether it's an event to observe or an event to learn or an event to share, like one event. It doesn't have, it can be anywhere.
So one of the events that I wanted to go to, which I haven't, but next year I'm making sure that I put down on my list, is experiential marketing event. So I
What it's
just love
called?
experiential marketing.
Oh,
So
I heard of
yeah,
it.
yeah, it's I think they had it in Vegas this year, and I'm like, you know what, I need to make
I
sure
have
I get
a
stuff
love-hate
together.
relationship with Vegas. Whenever I go to Vegas, because whenever I go to Vegas, I leave like a lizard. My skin is dry. I have at least one asthma attack because I can't breathe.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
like,
Not good.
pulling for my inhaler like a crazy person. But a lot of events happen in Vegas.
Yeah, I've
Not
never
even just
been. I've
never
never,
listen, not
not
just in
even
the
on a
event.
personal trip.
Oh gosh. So not just in like the event space, but just like there's like Vegas is a convention conference
Mhm,
town. So I've been
mhm,
to a whole bunch of conferences there, but like only when it's required.
mhm.
There are two conferences happening there this year that I'm actually gonna go to, event conferences. But I'm dreading it. I'm not gonna lie.
I feel you. Yeah, I haven't been, but yeah, that's one of the things I'm like, all right, I need to, because you know what it is? I think with COVID, I had my whole thing. All right, I'm gonna start, going to a lot more conferences, out of, town conferences and things like that. And then, we got shut down, and then you just become, well, let me speak for myself. I've become so like housebound. Like I have to
Oh, honey,
be intentional
you,
about actually going out.
you, people confuse me and they think that I like being outside. Baby, this right here is my playground. Okay. I can be in this room, this very room, for a whole week and not notice
Trust me, I'm the same way.
and be
I'm
very
the same
happy
way.
about it.
But the funny thing is that whenever I go on your social media, you're always traveling. You're somewhere. You're out
Listen,
and about. So it's such an
but that
interesting
doesn't
dynamic.
mean that I would not prefer.
Hmm,
It's
hmm.
right here.
I feel you.
And maybe so COVID did condition me to really love it actually, because I used to feel like I had to always be out and about.
Exactly.
Post COVID,
Exactly.
I'm like, bro, my happiest life when I was at home in isolation, which doesn't work
Chilling.
for a lot of people. Because like, but this is where like I can really and truly acknowledge I am truly an introvert. I would
Yes,
prefer to be locked in my room for an extended period of time, just working heads down, than
that's exactly
being
it.
out at dinners, meetings, conferences. Like, hit me when
Yeah.
hit me when it's over.
Yeah, I'm an introvert too. And so it's like, even when I think about my weekend plans, right? It's like if somebody's like, "Oh, you want to go somewhere Friday," and then it's something else on Saturday and something else on Sunday, I'm like, okay, I can either go to one or two of those things. I can't go to
So
three, you
I'm
know?
raggedy. If I commit, I'm there.
Yes.
However, I have been learning
Hmm.
sometimes, even if I committed, if my body says stay home, baby,
That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
it
Honor
might
your
be time to
body.
stay home. Anyway, on
Yes,
that
honor your
note,
body.
Natasha, thank
But to that
yeah,
point, I want to
I was
add
about to
one
sign off,
thing.
and you were like, okay, go
No,
ahead.
no, to that point, I wanted to add, like, that's why it's so important for you to let people know, like, what they can expect at your event and really have a strong event promise. Because why should I get up out of my bed, especially from an introvert, and I love staying at home, get up, rearrange whatever I need to rearrange, take a shower, get dressed, and drive 30 minutes, half an hour, or travel cross country, right?
Yeah.
Without me feeling like, all right, I'm definitely about to get exactly what it is that I want or I need. So,
Of the
yes,
introvert part, now you in my bank account. I gotta pay for flights, I gotta pay for hotels, I got
exactly,
I have to iron clothes. Listen,
girl, and pack. I'm like one of those people
I
who
still have
I
two
pack like
suitcases
30 minutes before.
I still have two suitcases that need to be. So one of them is halfway empty, and the other one is not empty at all. I emptied the carry on and like the carry on like duffel, but like I still have the big suitcase to empty and half of the medium suitcase. It's a struggle.
Yes, yes, trust me, I get it. I get it. So yes, that's how I feel. I'm like, I need to really know what I'm about to get before I really make this trek outside my house. Unless it's my friends, and even then, I'm still considering whether or not I want to go to that dinner, that party, or that whatever the case may be.
I
COVID changed me. COVID changed me,
uh, I
as
don't
it probably did a lot of people.
It's funny because, see, look, I was trying to sign off and you got me talking again. This part is not a COVID thing. This part is like a daddy died, brother died thing. I feel like one of the things, like, you would think they would be different. You think that I'd want to spend more time with people, but one of the things I remember on the last trip, me, my grandpa, my grandma, my mother, we took on the other side of the island, went to Montego Bay, and I was working, and I was annoyed with everybody because I was on this trip and I wanted to just work. And then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna stop working and just spend time with them. The guy I was dating at the time was like, you love your grandparents so much. If anything ever happens to them, you'd be pissed that you didn't spend time with them. And I closed the laptop. Glad I did, because that was the last trip we ever took together. But on that same trip, my grandfather said to me, you know what you have to do, and you know what you want to do. So you can't let anybody else determine how you spend your time. So you're over here upset that we won't be quiet because you're on a meeting. Because I was like literally on a conference call, and there's only one place in the Airbnb you could get Wi-Fi, and it was where everybody was. And they were like laughing loud, and I like, but they were having a grand time, and I was just miserable, like annoyed, talking to the person, making all the excuses. But that was the thing where I was just like, wait, regardless of whatever commitments I've made to my friends, as much as I love them, what about the commitments I've made to myself?
That's
which one do I have to actually put on the back burner sometimes? And it can't keep being me. I have to choose me, just like how I would expect them to choose them, right? So I don't hold it against anybody, and I decided to lean into it. So staying at home sometimes, saying I can't make that event, it just gotta
good for you. Good for you, because it's hard sometimes, to say no, especially with people that you love. Yeah, you know what I mean, or you
genuinely care about. You want them to be happy.
Yeah.
And even I went to one of my friends' weddings, and I just did not want to go. And not because I didn't want to see them married. Like, I wasn't feeling well. I was tired. I had worked a lot, and I had to get on a plane from Jamaica all the way. I was like, I don't want to be here. And again, not because I didn't want to see them get married. I was just like, I am done. I am spent.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, that's the word I was gonna use, because I know that feeling of like literal like exhaustion. It's like, if I don't have much energy to do something else, to move, you know what I mean? So I totally get it. So essentially what I heard here is protect yourself, protect your energy. Take care of yourself.
For all the event professionals out there that are possibly suffering or on their way to burnout, protect your energy. You
have to, and honor yourself, and know when you've kind of crossed that threshold.
Is that a psychology degree? Is that what you get here?
Listen, you just never know what you're gonna get, right? I'm gonna invite them to all come in and lay on my couch, metaphorically.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Natasha. Now we're really signing off. Thank you for your time, and I will see you on the interwebs.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This was a fun conversation, and I really appreciate it. So.
It is my pleasure.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Adventus 365. We hope you enjoyed listening and learning something new today. If you enjoyed the show, please leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform to help event professionals discover us. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and sign up for our newsletter for behind-the-scenes content and updates on upcoming events. If you have any suggestions for future topics or guests, or just want to say hello, you can reach us at info@adventus365.com. We love hearing from our listeners. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Adventus 365.